When I got advice, someone pointed me in the direction of accountancy, and I pursued my career. I didn't know that I would specialize in tax later on. Don't pay attention to other people's life paths. I had a very traumatic incident happen to me, which was the death of my first husband when my daughter was 1 year old. My mother told us that in this house, you don't use the word can't. You are every movie you watch, every person you follow on social media, every drink you have, every item of clothing you choose to wear, whatever you feed yourself on, that is who you are. You are some of the decisions that you make.
Ayesha Bedwei Ibe, PwC's Global People Leader for Tax and Legal Services and past president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Ghana.
With over 20 years of leadership experience, she champions the next generation with the skills and mindset to succeed in today's world of work.
I read about 15 books a year, but that's not even enough. If we don't have enough African writers, it's because we're not reading.
When we started the Get Ahead ReadyforWork Webinar series, the aim was really to solve one simple problem: to gather the best and brightest career professionals, entrepreneurs, and the movers and shakers of the industry and excavate the best and brightest thoughts that made them who they are today. And today we had one of those exciting webinars with the one and only Ayesha Bedwei. She shared some of the thoughts that I wish for you to sit back immediately and watch and apply into your life. With that being said, I invite you really to watch and experience this conversation for yourself. Ayesha Bedwei. The first time that I got to interview you was in your office, and you told me, you said in one of the questions that I asked, because I asked you if you were to advise 18 to 25-year-old Ayesha, what would you tell her? And you said your response would be for her to not stress too much because she was actually doing a lot. So if you go back before everybody, you are one of the consummate professionals in the country and beyond. Before you became all the titles that we'll cover in this conversation, who was Ayesha and what were you trying to prove?
Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the glowing words that you've kind of said about me. So maybe what I'll share is that I'm naturally a very introverted person and very reserved. And so before, as you said, before I started this amazing career and had the opportunity to experience all these different professional things, I was somebody who was focused on my studies. I had an artistic flair as well. I used to draw and paint, which is something that I guess it kind of tells you that you shouldn't put people in a box, because the fact that somebody is inclined in one direction doesn't mean that they don't have talents in another. And so I did have my artistic talents and interests, and I was creative, especially with my hands, making things, doing things, but at the same time focused on my studies and trying to figure out who I wanted to be. And that's probably one of the reasons I said to you that I'll tell my younger self not to stress so much, because I used to overthink quite a bit because I wanted to be somebody who mattered. I wanted to leave my mark on the world. I wanted to create an impact. And I think I was thinking about how I could do that from a very young age and talking to as many people as I could for advice.
Overthinking, that's one of the things that many young people are still going through today. Yeah. So where did that come from, actually?
I don't know where it came from. Where do these things come from? Are they passed on from our parents? I don't know. I don't know where it came from. But, and that points to my analytical nature. Okay, so when overthinking is channeled in the right direction, it's analytical. Right. But if you keep thinking and overanalyzing and ruminating on something, it can actually affect your emotional well-being. So there's a balance that has to be had.
Was that how you chose your career? Because obviously you are very analytical. You are also different other dimensions, but analytical seems to be the prominent one in your career pivot. Yes. So was that a main concern for you?
I think it was it was a major factor. And like I said, I spent a lot of time talking to people because I had my natural interest when I was a student. But I wanted to know, it wasn't enough for me that I like doing these subjects. What can I do with them? Who can I be with them? And so, I'm someone who doesn't hesitate to ask for advice. I will consult as many people as possible so I can make sure that I'm on the right track. And that's what I did. My 16-year-old self, I was having conversations with friends of my parents, people I'd meet, when I had my first job when I was 16 at Ghana Trade Fair. I went to man a stand for, I've forgotten the company, because I wanted to have work experience. And I found that job myself, right? So I obtained as much advice as possible to make sure I was on the right track. And that's how come I found myself in this career.
So going back, we've uncovered a lot about you as a younger person. Going back, if I were one of your colleagues in high school, what would I think about you, or how would I see you beyond someone who is well intentional about where she wants to go, probably always carrying books and things like that, curious, excessively focused, but what else would I think about you?
So if you spoke to any of my classmates now, they would say, she was so quiet. That's what they say. It's like, oh, wow, is this who she is now? She was so quiet. Yeah. So that's one of the things that people who were in school with me said about me.
One thing that really I love so much about our journey is where you start sometimes informs, how the journey progresses. You were quiet, you were very analytical, you were focused, and now you're a pastor. I don't want to start from the end, but we'll get in there.
Okay.
Because when I always like to find out how did it happen. But again, for someone who is just about starting out, and is choosing careers in today's economy where everything is the way they are.
Yeah.
What do you usually tell young people who are in those formative years of, I don't know, I have a lot of passions, I have a lot of interests? What do you tell them? Because obviously you have passion for the 16, 25-year-olds, and you've written a lot of materials directed to them. What do you tell them?
Okay. It's actually the 18 to 25,
years.
Yeah. So for me, there's a formula that works for me that I think people could try out. So first of all, you have to narrow it down, because there are people who are good at a lot of things. And sometimes I laugh at them and say, your problem is you're just good at everything. Yeah. You can't narrow it down, but you have to narrow it down. It has been proven that success comes from specialization. Having a niche area that, you can really focus on, because when you focus on it, you can go in depth. So I would say narrow it down first. I remember some time ago, my executive coach told me to make a list of 47 things I wanted in a relationship. And when I made the list, she said, now narrow it down to 7. And that was really hard to narrow it down. So I would apply the same formula. Narrow it down. You may have passion, you may be interested, you may like particular areas, but narrow it down to the top 3. The ones that you're really good at, the ones that you really enjoy. And then from the top 3, you move on to looking at who are the people doing the things you think you would like to do. So when you find those people, then you go on to interacting with those people, finding out in reality, what is a day in your life like? In reality, what does it mean to be in this profession? Good and bad. Exciting days and mundane. What is it like? And then you can make an informed decision. I really believe in making informed decisions. Yeah. I don't like, half the story. And so that comes back to my analytical nature and the requirements I have for detail. I need to know the whole story so I can make the right decision, especially for myself.
Okay, so I disagree to a point.
Okay.
The question is, when you are starting out, do you start out narrowing it down, or do you start out exploring different interests? Exploring different interests.
Okay. Listen, even with children, when you have a child who is in, primary school around the ages between 8 and 12, you let them try everything, or even 6, 5 to 2. You let them try everything. Ballet, taekwondo, art, science club, singing club. Why are you doing that? Because you want to establish what are the things that they like, what are their interests. Swimming, hockey, but you name it. There's a reason that we do that, because you are trying to decipher where are the child's strengths and interests.
Right.
So try everything. And as you're trying everything, you start to discover things about yourself. You have to get to know yourself first. And once you discover, actually, I like this. Actually, I'm good at that. I don't really like it, but it comes easy to me. Then you are on the path to making that decision for yourself.
Wonderful. So, but of course, you have a rule book that you use for synthesizing this information, because obviously today we are bombarded by a lot of information, and also in our own self, as you rightly said, we have different aspects of passions that we want to eventually explore.
Yep.
So what metrics do you use to say, okay, this is where I can narrow down and really go maximally intense on, while maybe leaving this one for later in my life if I have, those kinds of, because again, we'll talk about AI, and I always ask executives like yourself, I say, how is AI impacting your work? And we see that AI is changing everything. So for people who are choosing careers today, what tools can they use to synthesize all this information that is bombarding them to say, okay, now let me go niche on this while not ignoring the other aspects? How do you make sense of all these bunch of data and information that is coming? Yeah.
So, even though we have all these sophisticated tools, the method is the same.
Right.
You could even take a piece of paper and write it down.
Right.
Okay, so the tools just enhance productivity. But if you don't understand the method and you don't have critical thinking, the tools are of no use to you, especially AI. Okay. So what I would say is, number one, experience as much as you can.
Right.
Okay. So when I started out in my career, I knew that I enjoyed finance and economics. I didn't know that I would be an accountant. When I got advice, someone pointed me in the direction of accountancy, and I pursued my career. When I started my career, I didn't know that I would specialize in tax later on, but I started as an accountant, trainee, audit, bookkeeping, all of these different areas. And I realized, actually, I don't like this as much. I like that a bit more. I started doing research about our profession and what the different specialties were. And I thought, okay, tax sounds interesting. I like consistency. Tax is the one thing that is as sure as death. You will always pay it. And tax is also payable in every country in the world. That was important to me, to have something I could fall back on that was reliable, consistent, and also ever-changing in terms of updates to the law and so on. So that's what informed my decision. Remember that, or you realize that I didn't decide to specialize right at the beginning of my career. It's a journey. At every point, you're going to have to make decisions. So it's an evolutionary journey. Okay, so there is maybe not one formula that fits everybody, but there is a formula. So find your formula and develop it as you live this life.
Career mapping is what you are explaining to our listeners. So do you consider also cities you want to live in, the kind of individuals that you want to, because, you've had amazing trajectory both in your core career and, community engagement. You were the president of American Chamber of Commerce, and now you are leading a congregation, fast-growing congregation. Were these intentional processes that when you were starting out, you say, okay, this is what I want my picture to look like when somebody is telling my story? This is how I want them to see me. Were these part of the things that you used in those synthesizing processes? Okay.
So what you said about cities, yes, I know that some people do plan their careers around cities and they say, listen, I'm in this field and I would love to be in New York, or I'd love to be in Tokyo, or whatever it is. But I would say the only decision I made around a city was I knew I wanted to come back to Ghana. I wanted to live in Accra. I was fortunate enough to be schooled in the UK for university, and I was privileged to, have the experience, start my career there, but I knew that was not the place for me. And there are some things that you just know. You can't explain verbally to someone to understand, but you just know. And I knew that my life could not continue to be in the UK at that point that I had gotten to. It's just not a good fit for me. I have a theory, and this is my personal theory, that cities like London or maybe countries like the United Kingdom are good for you or good for me, people like me, between the ages of 18 and maybe 28, 29. I feel that if you are an African or someone of African descent and your lifelong purpose or intention is to come back home, come back before the age of 30, because it's easier to fit back into society. You are young enough that even if you have to take a couple of steps back in your career or in your pay, you can bounce back within a few years. The older you get, the more difficult it is to synthesize yourself back into society. And that was actually my journey. I came back to Ghana at the age of 26 or 27, thereabouts. And I was able to settle back in, get back into my career, or take a career break, then get back into my career. And I was not harmed by it, And I'm saying this because I know many people, and I have friends and people have come to me as well, who are living abroad in the UK and the United States, and they desperately want to come home, whether it's Ghana, whether it's Nigeria, but it's so difficult. And with each passing year, as they get a mortgage, as they get a husband or wife, as they have children, as they have commitments, it's very difficult. And what makes it even more difficult is that they look at the pay cut. Whatever they are earning out there based on, their grade, their rank, and also the currency implications, if they even get a job here, there's a significant pay cut, and it's very difficult for them to accept that with their obligations. Then, of course, there's the whole networking side of things, okay? So, yes, in Ghana, we have the whole school system, which is really strong. You have your classmates and all of that. But you have to really settle back into society, see how things are done, build relationships from anew, and just it's quite a challenging process, which I'm sure it is to move anywhere. But for our African countries with our systems that are not as established as other countries and the challenges we face. I mean, there's a joke I used to make with my colleagues in the UK and other countries that by the time we all get to our desks at work, I have dealt with water issues, electricity issues. I'm resilient because I've had to deal with all that, and I'm sitting here with you on the call. You've just gotten up, gotten ready, and come to work. But I'm dealing with different challenges that are unique to my environment, which have made me resilient. So those are my thoughts around the whole choice around city and all of that. And then I think you spoke about pastoring the church. So my husband is a lead pastor, and I support him. So of course that was never in my plan or even in my vision.
Right.
But what I'll say is that, when you have leadership ability, when you are developing these skills, leadership, other human skills, negotiation, empathy, agility, they are transferable skills, right? So being in the church environment and leading with my husband is still leadership.
Right.
It's just leadership that is according to the statutes and the way of God. It's not our organization, it is God's organization, and we are following his rule book, right? But you still have to exhibit leadership qualities, you still have to be empathetic, you still have to be compassionate, you still have to be fair, and these are skills that are transferable from the business world if you get it right.
Correct. Okay, so, for many, and this is backed by research, I suppose it cuts across the board. Stress and the overwhelming complexity, so to say, of the nature of our work today is one of the most challenging aspects of their living or their existence. So how did you thrive? Well, the context might be different going back, but still, as you've said, the rule book fundamentally remains the same. How did you thrive and outlast those that you started this journey with? Because I know that if you look back, there are many of them that are not at the top of the industry like you are today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you maneuver those pushbacks of coming from a different context, establishing yourself even with a career break, leading teams in different dimensions, and you talked about the water issues, all those kind of things.
All those issues, the issues that make us resilient.
Yes.
So how did I thrive? So let me say there are a number of factors, okay, that come together to make one successful. And if people were not able to make it, to my level of success, I believe there's also different sets of factors that, manage or contributed to that situation. So for me, what I can say about myself is that I had a very traumatic incident happen to me when I was quite young, which was the death of my first husband when my daughter was 1 year old. So I would say that experience made me very resilient, extremely resilient. And when I recovered, in fact, even when I was recovering from it and I recovered from it, it made me resilient. There was nothing you can throw at me that's as bad as that. So it made me resilient. It made me extra empathetic and compassionate. it contributed to me understanding that people are dealing with different issues and not everything is about me. You can't take everything personally. I think that when you go through pain, it is an avenue for growth. It's an opportunity for you to rise from the ashes as a better version or a stronger individual. And I use that experience, I use that grief as fuel to rise. And so whatever challenges I faced, whatever feedback I got from my bosses, from the work I did, whatever it is, I took it as feedback and I used that to move on. Because I saw it as an opportunity to rebuild my life and I was stopping at nothing to do that. And so that's, for me, I believe that experience with other factors that came into play at that point in time, such as having an opportunity open for me and me deciding to take it because I was determined at that point in time. So all these experiences all together, I believe, helped me. It gave me an extra thrust, like a rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say that was, yeah.
In Breaking the Limits, my book, I talked about trauma a lot because like most people, I have also had my fair share of trauma.
Yeah.
And one of the things in my research and my personal life also, conversing with some of my friends, observing even the life of those that I started my career with, what I realize is trauma, as you said, can be a forceful determinator of whether trust, or retrogression. So there are many young people who are going through silent traumas today that sometimes they don't feel comfortable sharing with even other people. For someone in that kind of situation, what mindset shift can they implement from your experience to, convert what could have been or may have been dark situations or envelope in their lives to the beginning of their new phase?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. There are a lot of young people dealing with stress and trauma, and they don't even actually know how to process it.
Yeah.
And I think that, first of all, we should not downplay the fact that we are spiritual beings.
Right.
I think people don't realize this or pay attention to this. And so I'm a Christian, as with that in mind, that is your spiritual connection with God is what will help you overcome the trauma, navigate or go through the trauma, right? Go through it. Because in my view, there's nothing else that can help you go through it fully and come out the other end whole. There may be things that you can do. Yes, there are coping mechanisms. There are things that you can be taught, psychological things and so on and so forth. But to come out the other end whole, your spiritual connection, your spiritual practice, your Christian practices that connect you to God and help you see yourself how God sees you is what enables you go through that experience and come out whole. So I would encourage young people going through this that, you can't divorce that part of yourself.
Right.
You can't. It impacts every part of you,
Absolutely.
Emotionally and even physically, because the traumas that we go through remain in our bodies. As there's a book that someone read, I've forgotten the author, but it's called The Body Keeps Score.
Absolutely, yeah, I've heard of it.
You've read it, yeah. The body keeps score. It's in you. Sometimes may manifest in physical diseases, or maybe not immediately, but it's in you, and you have to get it out. So that's why I talk about wholeness and the fact that if you want that wholeness, you have to do it with God.
Okay. Now, I think it opens a window for my next question, which is, have you always been a Christian all your life?
Yes.
Okay. So, you enter the workforce, you have your spiritual upbringing, you have foundational values, and you have aspirations, which is purpose. How do you merge both? Because it can be difficult to have that sense of equilibrium. How did it work for you?
So yes, I have the foundational values of Christianity, but I think with maturity came the desire to seek God for myself and have that relationship with God where I can run to Him for whatever the issues may be, and even if there's no issues, just have that connection to my source. So equilibrium in the sense of
Purpose,
career aspirations.
Tensions in society. Some. I saw this. I wish I could play it for you, but the guy said, "Here am I doing well, following the rules in society, but this other guy is doing sakawa, making all the money, and getting societal accolades and things. So, what is this?"
Yeah.
So that
That's
kind of
what you're
tension.
talking about. Yeah. I think so. Once again, I said we can't divorce our spiritual side of ourselves, right? It may look like what the people, it's about short-term gratification. That's what's actually going on here. And that's the role that social media plays. Because when you see other people achieving what you want to achieve or having the possessions you want to have, you don't know the full story.
Yeah.
And usually, things that are gotten through perverse ways or ill-gotten gains don't last. And unfortunately, even though you may see all the glam and all the things that you admire, you don't see it when it goes south. And it does go south.
Yeah, the rest.
No, but it does. It does go south. And also, you are not in those people's homes with them. Because even if publicly things may look okay, you don't know what's happening in their homes and the torment that they are going through personally. So what I would say is that I know it's very difficult, but don't pay attention. I'm not saying you may see it because we have an information overload, but don't pay attention to other people's life paths in terms of the choices they've made, the decisions they've taken, the possessions they have, the trips they take, the private jets they go on, the clothes. You can see it, but don't use it as a yardstick for yourself. If anything at all, you can be inspired by things that people do, but you must focus on your own path. You can be inspired, but you shouldn't be obsessed.
Right.
And focus on theirs because you don't know their path, right? So I understand what you're saying there. You look around and you feel a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
Like,
and it can be difficult. I mean,
I know.
We get these wonderful thoughts and guidance a lot. But then you are there.
Yeah.
You know, this guy doesn't probably, from your own thinking, might not have as much skills, as you do when you used to give him pointers when you were in school. And now he's a big man.
Yeah.
Doing so well.
Yeah.
Are there checklists that you have to hold yourself in?
Yes, I do.
In the scripture we have ingratitude. How do you hold yourself in to the point that even when you see this flamboyancy of lifestyle and accumulation of possessions that they do, how do you pull yourself back?
I mean, Tom-Chris, listen, for me, I'm so focused. You see, one of the things about me is that I'm so focused on succeeding the right way. I don't want anyone to ever come and say that I got where I got to because I bribed somebody or my work is not that good or what have you. Nobody can say that, you see. So for me, I think that is what drives me. That I want to be able to say, I did this by the help of God and my effort. And that's it. Nobody, there was no dodging of anything. I didn't take any wrong turns. And I that is very important to me. My reputation, my integrity, my legacy is more important to me. So yes, I see the things. And let me tell you, as I shared, I was widowed from a young age. And I was single for a long time. I can tell you that there were many people who had opinions on why am I, or had opinions about whether I should just be with somebody who's married. Okay, people would make those suggestions. For me, that's a fundamental strike against my values. I don't support relationships I don't support extramarital affairs. I don't support adultery. I don't support fornication. I don't support all of that. It doesn't agree with me. So But you can imagine, as a single person, a single parent, I would have loved to have my own family. I'd have loved to be married.
Yeah.
But it wasn't time.
And you have the looks to make it happen.
Thank you. It wasn't time. For whatever reason, God was, training me. I was putting me. It wasn't time. So I had to focus. Okay, it's not time. Let me focus on what I'm doing. Be grateful for what I have. Be grateful for my family. Be grateful for my friends who have a supportive community. And just put your head down and live your life. And that is the checklist. This does not align with my values.
Right.
Nothing good will come of this. I will not even go that way. So that's why I'm saying I understand. I understand how the young people feel, where you also want something, not out of covetousness or jealousy. You also just want to be somebody.
Yeah.
You also want your family. You also want a great career, willing to do the work. But it's taking longer than usual, or the journey doesn't seem, you just feel like, when is this going to end? You have to encourage yourself. The Bible tells us David encouraged himself. You have to encourage yourself. I mean, there were times that, and I'm very practical in the way I do things. I would stand in the mirror and talk to myself and tell myself, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Just do this now. Just hang on. You have to do what you have to do to make sure you stay on the right path. Because when it comes right, it comes right. And I'm glad that I was able to survive when it comes to relationships. I was able to survive the waiting period. And now I've been married to my husband for almost 5 years. And I can say that he was more than worth the wait.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the people that I've spoken to that have this core innate belief, they have families that, made it happen.
Yeah.
Was it family, or was it your own intentional, I'm going to really make something out of myself, and these are the precepts that I want to establish?
Oh, it was 100% family.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you meet my mother, my father has passed on now, but especially my mother, my sister is physically challenged. My sister has a physical disability, Farida, yes.
She's a great person, actually.
My mother told us that in this house, you don't use the word can't. Yes. And this is what we were told from young. You say, I will try. You don't say I can't. So you see, the way we are programmed is also very important, because if your parents are speaking life to you, if your parents are encouraging and telling you that you can do this, you believe that you can do it. My father felt like his daughters could do anything, and he used to tell us something. He used to say, you know what you have to do, just go and do it. He would even say, yeah, you know what you have to do, just go and do it. He wouldn't even say the sky's the limit. It's like, you know what you need to do, just go ahead and do it. So that support was there, that belief in us was there. And we were living life with no limits. So there were no limitations placed on us mentally, physically, and the support was there. So as parents, it is very important what we say to our children, because it informs what they think about themselves. My sister and I are very confident in ourselves as people. We know that whatever we put our minds to, we can do. It's maybe a matter of time.
Yeah.
We need to, focus. We need to pray. We also need to do our part. So that is our mentality. And I recognize that it's because of our upbringing. And I know that some people, having that kind of upbringing gives you a head start, in my opinion. Yeah. I know that some people have very bad upbringings and they're almost taken back, and they have to go through the process of building themselves up again. And I really do feel for them. But I think that as parents, most of us will become parents if we're not already parents. We should be conscious about what we are feeding our children. Today, I saw a post on LinkedIn that said, we are every decision that we make, every food we choose to eat. We are not eating food, we're eating the energy that makes the food. Every personality we follow on social media, every movie we watch, everything we drink, even the clothes we wear, we are everything, literally, we feed ourselves.
You've got to repeat that to our young people that will be watching this, please.
So I let me repeat it. I saw a LinkedIn post today that really spoke to me. And it said that we are everything. I think the wording, or maybe I'll just paraphrase. You are everything that you consume. every food you eat, and by the way, when you're eating the food, you're not just eating food, you're eating the energy that was used to create the food. You are every movie you watch, every person you follow on social media, every drink you have, every item of clothing you choose to wear, whatever you feed yourself on, that is who you are. You are some of the decisions that you make. So if you are not happy with your life, examine all the things you've been feeding yourself on. Who are you following on social media? What kind of movies are you watching? What kind of food are you eating? Are you eating only Indomie? Which I know a lot of young people just feed themselves. You know, what are you drinking? What are you looking at on a daily basis? Because what we feed ourselves determines who we become. And that is, for me, that's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We talked about environment, but I wish I could go back to that subject of environment again.
Yeah.
If I am in that situation, I didn't have that upbringing, I didn't have the family, I didn't have the legacy. Can I create it for myself? Where do I start?
Yep. You can definitely create it for yourself. I mean, because even people who had family, even had the right family, there's still mistakes. There's still things that can happen that affect you negatively. It may not be much, but it can still happen. So I think that for people who don't have that, you can create it yourself. But first, you have to determine one day that I don't want to be this person that I am.
Yeah.
After you do a self-assessment, actually, I want to be this kind of person, somebody who is compassionate, empathetic, professional, who carries themselves well, who speaks well, who is successful in every part of their life. And that success means, you know, the kind of food you eat, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak to people, being respectful to all people, looking at your spiritual life, looking at your physical life, looking at your emotional life, the kind of relationships you keep. So once you do that self-audit and you determine that I want to be this kind of person, you have to start taking the steps. Again, it's like a career choice. If I want to be somebody who speaks well, I need to go be around people who speak well. If I want to be somebody who is professional, who carries themselves well, I need to find those people and feed off them, learn from them. I need to read books that empower me and make me understand that I can do everything that I want to do. It's the right mindset that is important. So for those people, they have to be really intentional and they have to take those steps to be able to become the person that they want to become. We're all becoming different people. I'm not the person I was 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. I don't even know. If I look at who I was, I don't know her.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know her, yeah.
Somebody said, if your work doesn't embarrass you, and of course your work includes your previous version, then you're not growing.
Yep.
Okay. You spoke about the importance of good communication. And obviously you've talked about this in different forums, both in the schools where you mentored and trained. So I want to really, and by the way, Warren Buffett, I believe, said, if you can develop good communication, you can double your value. What do you think of that?
So true.
So true.
It's so true. Do you know that there are people who are applauded by many and celebrated and spoken highly of, who are not actually doing much? It's just because of the way they communicate. And communication is not just the verbal communication, right? It's even the way they carry themselves, because we're always communicating.
Right.
Just the way they carry themselves and they package whatever it is that they're doing is seen as so wonderful and grand and so much. Meanwhile, when you go under the surface, it's not that much, but it's all because of how they communicate. So I agree with Warren Buffett 100%.
You've seen the best of the best. You've seen the captains of the industry. And you've also seen young people who are just getting started as a result of your passion and the work you do. How do you advise someone who wants to really communicate as good as you do?
Read. I feel that young people need to read a lot more. You know, if you read, you increase your vocabulary, you learn about phrases, you learn about, you know, context, subtext. And also, if you read, you can actually write. Yeah. If we don't have enough African writers, it's because we're not reading. So reading.
Wow, that's really a wonderful perspective. Okay. I've never thought about it in that direction.
Yeah. If we read more, we'll have more writers. We're just not
Absolutely.
reading.
Yeah.
So we need to read. We need to promote and encourage reading. And yeah, we need to just read. I think reading is really important. You know, you get lost in the world of the book that you're reading. Your imagination is able to create things. You're able to see pictures because you're not being stimulated by
External
other
indexes,
programming and external issues. You're not on your phone with social media. It's just you and the book. So your mind is able to, you know, be creative, and you can travel in your mind from reading a book.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, reading is really, really important. I don't even think I read enough. I read about 15 books a year, but that's not even
Wow.
enough. Yeah.
How do you get the time? Because
I make the time.
your schedule is already full.
No, but I make the time.
How do you make
I
the time?
make it. So we can always make excuses if we don't want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But if something is important enough to you, you find the time. I remember I had never read any of Bishop David Oyedepo's books until early this year.
Right.
And I consumed, I think, about 6 of them in 1 month.
Wow.
Because it was that engaging. I was excited by what I was learning. I felt like the book was written for me. I read the book. In fact, I read each book of his twice and took notes.
Impressive.
Because I wanted to learn. You see, that's another thing. We must have this desire and this hunger to learn, to uncover the secrets and the treasures in the book. And we are writers and readers because God is a writer, really. And the stories of our lives are written. And so we are just emulating our Father in heaven.
Yeah.
And so that is why it's important that we ignite this desire in ourselves to read, so we can also be creative and write.
Yeah.
Because the words are what will last, stand the test of time. When we are all gone, your book, Breaking the Limits, will be here. You don't know whose hands
That's
it will find
impressive.
itself in. Yeah.
Exciting.
This will outlive you and
Yeah.
all the other books you write.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is why we should be encouraging ourselves, our children, and people to just read. Because reading takes commitment.
Yes.
You can't read when you're driving.
Yeah.
You have to actually concentrate and be still and read. And that's something people are challenged with today.
Yes, absolutely. I used to read a lot. I used to read when I was in high school, 2 books a week. When I started early in my career, I made conscious decision to read 1 book every month and things like that. But now it's becoming a bit of difficulty.
You've become too busy.
Yeah.
You're not prioritizing the reading.
Yes, I think so. I'm not reading as much as I want to. So, in terms of reading, would you say you prioritize hard books than digital?
I prefer hard books. I read digital, if I don't have a hard book. I prefer hard books. I like to feel the pages in my hand.
Right. What about writing, taking notes? How do you take notes?
I have to write.
Why?
That's just how I learn. I've always learnt by writing notes. There's something about writing. Again, is creating. It's putting the notes in my own thoughts and words and how things relate to me. And that's why I said when I read those books, I wrote notes because I was learning. So I prefer to have a physical book in my hand, and I like to write notes. I don't enjoy taking notes on my phone. I do when I have to, but I like to write. So I have books of notes.
Wow.
Books and books and books of notes.
Somebody said, there is a correlation between memory and writing. When you write it with your hand, you remember it more.
Yes.
So how do you preserve your notes? Because that's another difficult part of it. Maybe moving houses and, life in general.
I treat my books with such importance. My notebooks, they're so important because I have books so I have notebooks for work, for my work meetings. Then I have my notebooks for church, for my sermon notes. Then I have my notebooks for my dreams because I write down my dreams every day. I have my dream books.
Say that again, please.
I have my notebook for my dreams.
Wow.
Because I dream almost every day.
Wow. This could be just another webinar on its own, because when God speaks to you in dream and you don't remember, it's a matter of discipline. And wow, That's very impressive. That brings a lot of thought into my head. Please continue.
So I was thinking about it the other day. As a child, I used to daydream a lot. When I say daydream, absent-minded, daydream
I get it.
to the point that my mother can send me to get a glass of water from the kitchen. Halfway, I forget why she sent me.
Wow.
Okay.
That makes me happy because that was me when I was very
Great.
young. Yeah.
So now I realize that the daydreaming, because you daydream, you're thinking about things, the daydreaming was a setup for prophetic gifting. That's what it was.
Is it?
Because the night dreams, which I dream, are very vivid. They're like movies. Are very vivid, and they are coded messages that God has for me. So I write them down, and sometimes I hear songs, which I've taught my choir in church. About 10 songs, also 10 or 11 songs. Yeah. So it is a pathway by which God can speak to us. We know that is the fact. It's in the Bible. And with these abilities and gifts, right, it depends on how you value them and how you nurture them. If I were not writing down my dreams, I won't remember them. I would just forget them. I'll remember them, but then if I don't write them down, I'll forget them, and that's the end of that. But if you value a gift someone has given you, an ability, you treasure it, you nurture it, you grow it. And that's what I do.
And the other notebooks.
My other notebooks, they're all there. My sermon notes are there. My work notes, they're there because when I have meetings, I have to take notes to remember things. They're all there. I have notebooks from about 20 years ago.
Wow.
I keep all of them.
That's impressive.
Yeah, because sometimes I like to go back and see where was my mind 15 years ago. What was I thinking?
If you ever decide to write a book, I would love to.
I have written a
support.
book. I have.
Right.
And it's a daily devotional book, and it's based
Okay.
on the dreams I have.
Talk
I'll give you a
about
copy.
it. Yes, please. I'd love to have a copy. But where can people get it?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
It's called The Kingdom Report.
Right.
And I have some products coming out. So maybe the next time I come on your show, I'll come with them.
Yes, please. yes, please. Okay, we've covered a lot of grounds, and I'm mindful of your time, but I have 3 more questions. Okay. Now, as you were very, very successful in your tenure during the American Chamber of Commerce presidency.
Thank you.
Yes, and many have said it as well. Leading that organization, first, what would you say you learned in that capacity? And also for individuals leading movements and groups and communities. I was reading something, and the guy said consumers are no longer putting their trust in brands, but in individuals.
Yep.
So, leading that kind of organization, what did you see in terms of the whole experience for people who are aspiring to be in that kind of position? What would you say would be your most vital lessons for them?
Number 1, be ready to learn. Number 2, be ready to work with different kinds of people, because an organization like an American Chamber of Commerce has different people on the board. And then you are leading this organization on behalf of all the members, who are a wide range of companies across many industries who have different needs. And it also pushes you to be social, because a lot of the things that you do in that organization are hosting members with a diplomatic corps as well, because AmCham had a lot of strong support from the American Embassy. And so navigating those relationships and managing them, a lot of relationship management.
Right.
So it pushes you as a person, because, sometimes we get to just focus on our work, but we have to be more than that. There is the relationship management side of things, understanding that we are all people. At the end of the day, our humanity connects us, and we all have varying needs. And you have to meet people at their point of need, especially if you're a leader. And I think AmCham really taught me that in terms of managing people, managing relationships, both in-house and externally, making sure that the members were well apprised, updated, especially with changes in government. We had to do political, individuals as well to make sure the needs of companies were met, and challenging situations, economic matters, because essentially AmCham exists to foster trade between Ghana and the United States. So with that objective in mind, you must do everything possible to foster that trade, to have the good relationships, to encourage Ghanaian businesses to go to America and also set up, which is one of the things I was really passionate about. Not just American businesses coming to Ghana to, invest and set up. Empowering Ghanaians to also feel that you can also go into that market, which is a huge market, and set up for entrepreneurs to succeed, where the systems are all working, and set up their businesses, and they don't even have to be physically there all the time. So those are some of the things that we worked on, and I was, I learned a lot. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, but managing those relationships, cross-border diplomatic relationships, company relationships, and at the end of the day, as you said, it's about people. People buy from people, not from brands. So if I'm able to establish a connection with you, regardless of your brand, I'll buy from you. Absolutely. Because you are the one here. Yeah.
For someone who is in that kind of leadership position and doesn't feel like maybe because of their gender or whatever might be, what would you say to them? Someone who might feel like, because some organizations, you look at the members and you're like, oh, these guys, they have a lot of egos and they are already established brand, my brand. How do you tell a young person who may be a campus leader trying to make a difference in society or engaging with government, a member of parliament who feels like they are not up to the task? What do you say?
Listen a lot. One of the things I like to do is to listen to people and observe behaviors. If you listen to people, listen to what is being said and not being said, observe their behaviors, you get to understand what people value most. Some people like to be liked. And some people don't really care about that. They just want the money. And other people don't even care about the money. They want the title. And some people, everybody has different needs and different values. So if you want to succeed amongst a group of people, observe their behaviors, observe what is important to them, and that will give you a pathway to succeed with them, to win them over. Some people respect your work, but they just want you to be nice to them. And you may think that I don't have time to be chit-chatting with you. Just this is the work, this is it. But they just want some attention. Will it kill you to give attention? No. So you do that. So these are all the different nuances and the ways that, things that may make us a bit uncomfortable, but sometimes we have to be uncomfortable a little bit to be able to achieve our purpose. The same approach doesn't work for everybody. You need to be able to read the room. So it requires a lot of emotional intelligence and know how to position yourself and what you're trying to achieve to each person in the room.
You move very fast. So about those? Yeah, you do. You do. What about those who might not be at your pace? Maybe in the company or in organizations like this, how do you bring them on? I mean, you want to achieve something very fast. How do you bring everybody along?
In my company, we have a culture of moving fast, so it's a bit easier. This is how it works together. Maybe let me go outside the company. Maybe you have somebody who likes what you're doing and says, "Oh, Tom-Chris, I really want to do something like Ready to Work." And you're like, "Okay, great. Let me tell you what to do. Get a podcast mic. Do this, do that, do that, do that." Then you realize that 2 weeks later, the person hasn't done anything about it. Now, in that situation, you must realize that you can't do it for them. So, and that's my attitude. I am willing to share, teach, encourage, even give you the rule book and show you the pathway. But if you will not prioritize this, whatever it is, and move fast, I will leave you behind.
What about in the team?
In the team, like I said, we are all moving fast, But even with that, if as a person, you are not moving fast enough, my team is very competitive. Somebody else will move faster than you. You get left behind. Yes, you get left behind. Yeah. So I think it all comes back to our priorities. What is important to you right now at this point in time? You are entitled to your priorities. Just be honest about it and own it. At a point in my life, it was not my priority to, in fact, I never even thought of becoming a partner. My priority was to survive. That was my priority. That was my focus. When I was able to survive, my priority changed. So you have to own and be honest about what your priority is now. If your priority is not to move fast in your career because you have other issues, distractions, challenges, you take a break. You own it. You're honest about it. So nobody will waste their time trying to pull you along.
Right.
When you are ready, you come back to the table and say, I'm ready now. And you show that you're ready.
Right. Okay, so rounding up,
Yep.
let's talk about AI indexing on the finance career. For the most part, I saw a chat book about careers that are in danger of automation.
Yeah.
So how do you see AI playing a role in your industry? What do you tell those who are starting their career in finance today about AI?
So, I said something earlier that if you don't understand the fundamentals and how things work, AI is of no use to you. Okay, so what it does, it speeds up certain tasks in our industry that perhaps we were doing ourselves, or junior people in our team were doing repetitive tasks, reconciliations, perhaps, things like that on the finance side. But you have to know how to do a reconciliation before you can tell AI to do it for you. And you have to be able to check what AI has done. Right. So what it does is it speeds it. So think of AI as your teammate. I'm thinking with my AI. I'm saying that AI, I want you to write this, should I say, memo for me. But add this, add that, and add that. When AI does it, I need to check that it's correct, because sometimes some parts are incorrect. And then I tell AI that this is wrong. It apologizes. It says, I'm sorry. And then do it again. And do it again. It's saving me time, but I still need to know how to do it.
How do you get the best from using those technologies that you use?
Yeah, so to get the best is, for someone like me who has years of experience, it comes easy for me to tell the technology what to do, and I know what I'm looking for. For somebody who is starting out in training, they still have to go through the process of knowing the fundamentals of our profession, or whatever profession you choose to be in, and then use the tools as your teammates to help speed up your task, but you still have to do the thinking. And so I guess when we're looking at the jobs that AI will eliminate, it's the 100% jobs that do not require thinking. Right. Very limited thinking. So that's my view. So it kind of, things that you can automate, it can kind of do them quickly for you to enable you time to do the critical thinking and the high-end judgment calls and advisory kind of work. So I think it's very important to know that they are tools, kind of like labor-saving devices when we had the technological revolution. Right. You need to know how to wash a plate before you can put it in a dishwasher. So you need to know what is clean and what is not clean. So in the same way, these tools are great. I think they help us articulate our thoughts quicker. They help us perform, very rudimentary reconciliations and tallies and all that kind of thing from the accounting side of things. But we still require our deep technical expertise so that we can enhance it with these tools.
Now, as an employer, do you feel like, the anxiety that maybe somebody who is still entering the workforce, because, I follow the news to share with other people aside of what I do in this space for 5 years now. And sometimes it can really be you can really feel some anxiety in following the news alone, the developments, the innovation. For someone who is looking at these news and feeling that tension, what do you tell them from your own point of view of looking at your business, maybe how some of the innovation are taking some chunks of revenue from your operation because maybe the end user is now having access to some tool that allow them to do these reconciliations on their own without external vendors. And so how do you feel about those, and what advice do you give?
For me, look for the opportunity. With every change, there's an opportunity. When we had the huge change that we all went through, which was COVID-19, we saw opportunities. Businesses were born as a result of COVID-19. So don't approach anything with fear. Fear kind of closes your eyes and makes you look inward. Approach it with optimism and the desire to see opportunities and you will see them. That's what I would say. I don't think that we should approach the whole AI revolution with fear, because AI was developed by human beings. Yeah. And anything human beings do is imperfect. Everything, every human system will fail at some point. It's only godly systems, it's only God's system that is 100%. Every single human system will fail at some point.
There's opportunity for people.
Yes.
And even in the perfection, there is also new career opportunities for
people. Yes.
Right.
Definitely. So let's look for the opportunities.
Great. So final thoughts. As a pastor, as a minister, how do you disconnect yourself from these different titles? I don't know, but I think when you're playing your role as a minister, you wear a different cap and you represent yourself in different ways than when you're in the office. Your staff will not approach you as a minister in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So, advice to people who might be in different contexts. How do they manage? I know you've talked about it briefly, but that's final thoughts.
I bring my whole self to everything that I do. I'm not going to be able to separate who I am. Yes, I'm wearing a different hat at this point in time, but I bring my whole self. So when you meet me in the office, yes, I'm a leader, but it's still me who is the minister, the wife, the mother, it's all coming together. Because I think that is how we are really authentic. We bring our whole selves. And that's what I do in every single situation I find myself in. Whatever hat I wear. It's the predominant hat, but you will see other parts. I think that is what that promotes that human connection. That I can identify some of me in you, and you can identify some of you in me. And that's how relationships are formed and strengthened.
There are some people, they are your pastor, but if you see them in the office, they are different from on the pulpit. And the reason is because in our part of the world, when you know she's or he's a pastor, now it's easy to get away with some things that you wouldn't ordinarily have done.
Okay.
So people can, she will forgive, but she's a pastor.
Not this pastor. That's why I say we bring, even my husband and I, because my husband runs his own business as well. We bring our whole selves, right? But I think the most important thing is respect. If you respect yourself and you respect the people you are dealing with, whether they are in the church or in the work, whatever it is, there will be a good interaction, and nobody will try and get away with this or get away. You are consistent. The way your behavior is consistent. You're not pretending. So when people know that you're consistent, it builds trust and it promotes safety, especially psychological safety. They know what they're going to get. They know that if they cross the line at work, you'll not be happy and you deal with them accordingly. And if they cross the line at church, same thing will happen. So let's be consistent.
Okay, please tell our followers, by the way, thank you so much for all the thoughts that you've shared. This is beyond a masterclass. This is experience of a lifetime that you distilled in simple terms, which is one of the things that you do that I love so much, whether it's your writing, the blogs that you've written, or the presentations that you do, or the trainings that you provide, or the social media materials that you produce. You make complex subjects simple for everybody to understand. Wherever they might be in the career ladder, they can use these insights and apply it to themselves and get the results that you speak of. So thank you so very much for that. So you talked about your book. You've already shared the link and you said there's something coming up. What else are you working on?
A few things coming up.
Where should people look out for them?
So tell you what, I will come back on this show with them.
Right.
By which time they will be publicly available. There will be an opportunity to buy them online.
Right.
And I'm excited about it. I think they are great tools. That's all I'll say.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you too.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation today. We bring this insight for people like you. You are the reason why we do all we do. So if you got value from this conversation, please do me a favor, a huge favor. Subscribe, share with your friends, and leave a comment down below. And of course, if you need us to invite anybody in particular, kindly leave their name in the comment section and we'll take it from there. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.